Hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Murray, and I'm the host of the Gift of Giving television show. Thanks for joining us today. And if you're tuning in for the first time, this program focuses on the nonprofits, foundations, and 501c3s here in the state of Nevada. We have conversations with those who are in the trenches day in, day out, making the world a better and brighter place for us all. And today's guest is certainly no exception. We'd like to welcome to the program Belinda Morse, and she's the Executive Director, Board Chair, and President of Honor Flight of Southern Nevada. Welcome to the program, Belinda.
Thanks for having me.
Um, you know, next Monday is going to be Memorial Day, and it's a day when we remember the families and those who sacrificed their lives for our country, and we honor them. And the best way I think we can honor them is honor the veterans who lived and survived and can tell their tales. And that's what your organization deals with, our veterans. So
Yes.
Thank you up front for that.
Thank you.
And thank all of the veterans for their service. So let's start by saying this is a nationwide organization, but each area can start its own chapter, I believe. Is that correct?
Correct. It's
Okay.
a national network is what they call it, the Honor Flight Network.
Okay.
And there are 120 hubs is what they call them, hubs nationwide, and we're one of them.
Great.
One of the 120.
Okay. Now, what made you pick out to start the chapter here in Southern Nevada out of all the other organizations that are here? What made you choose this one?
So every time my husband was a veteran, or is a veteran, and my father was a Vietnam veteran. And every time we've moved, I always volunteer in the community. And I was volunteering at the Veterans Home, and I heard about Honor Flight San Diego as my children's great-grandfather went. He's a World War II veteran, and he went. And I thought, oh, I'd love to get involved. So I reached out, and I found out there was an Honor Flight Nevada out of Reno. And so got in touch with them, and then they told us basically how things work. They helped us get started here, and then we opened our own. We have our own board of directors, our own operation team, which each hub does. Each one has to
Okay.
form their own 501c3, have their own board of directors, their fundraising components. All of that is all independent.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Now, would you like to explain to a little bit what Honor Flight actually does?
Sure. So Honor Flight is chartered both at the national level and all of the other hubs to escort World War II, Korea, and Vietnam veterans to Washington, D.C. to honor them and acknowledge the sacrifices that these veterans have made for the freedoms we enjoy today. Originally, it started as just World War II, but each charter has allowed and expanded to include Korean and Vietnam. We will probably not go back or further than Vietnam right now, as there's no memorials for the other
Gotcha.
veterans yet.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure something will change in the future, but we are currently only chartered to do World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Each hub can do their program kind of however they want. There's some national guidelines that we follow, but how many days you go and which memorials you see, that's all by each hub's decision and their
Gotcha.
board of directors.
Yes. Well, you say about you're only sticking with those three wars and not dealing with the other ones because there's no monuments, and there might be something on those later on. But
Correct.
the World War II certainly monuments certainly took a long while to get completed here. We didn't
Exactly.
think that was ever going to get finished, but
Well, it's interesting that you say that because it wasn't completed until 2005.
no.
And what happened was many people and people in Congress thought and saw Iwo Jima as the World War II memorial. And it wasn't. It's a
No.
Marine memorial,
Yes.
not World War II. So that's why they had to really work to fight
Yes.
back and push back and say, no, we need a World War II memorial.
Yes. So now we have the memorials, the three that you take the veterans to. Now, how often do you do these trips back to Washington? I'm assuming it is just to Washington, D.C., you take them and then they come back.
Yes.
How often do you do these trips?
We do 2 a year, one in
Okay.
April and one in October. And
Okay.
we go back on a Friday, we leave on a Friday and we come back on a Sunday. So ours is really a 3-day trip.
Okay. And well, you've just come back from one of the trips. And
Yes.
we'll talk about that in the next
Yes.
segment and how successful that was. How many people do you take back at each
So
time?
over time as it kind of evolved, but we've decided to stick with 25 veterans and 25 guardians to escort them back. We take 2 paramedics, 2 team members, and a photographer. The bus holds 55, so that's how we came up with a good mix for us, and it really seems to work. We used to not do veterans equal, 1 guardian to 1 veteran, because if they weren't in a wheelchair, we didn't think they really needed a guardian. But what we found is it was really fulfilling for that veteran to have someone dedicated to giving them attention the whole weekend.
Yes.
And so it really has just turned out, it makes for a great trip.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what if a spouse wants to go instead of a guardian? What if they want to be the guardian for their husband or wife? Is that permissible or no?
We do not take spouses.
Okay.
And really, that was a national decision back when they started in 2005, and it's kind of carried out till then. And initially it was, and it still is for us, is many of the spouses may have the same medical conditions or issues that the veteran has. And so we have to focus on the veteran. The flight is about the veteran, not about the issues between husband and wives, the baggage that comes along with that sometimes. We've waived it a couple of times, and I will say 3 times we've waived it. And it did not turn out well either, all 3 times. So we, as a board, and have continued to set that policy. We need someone who can push a wheelchair all day should that veteran get tired. Sometimes it's up slopes, down slopes. It's a lot of work. We're lifting wheelchairs on and off a bus on Saturday 8 times.
Yes.
So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
I was going to ask you about wheelchairs, and there are a lot of veterans that aren't only in wheelchairs, they could have oxygen things, canes and other handicaps.
Yes.
They might just need assistance walking because they don't want to have a walker or a wheelchair.
Right.
They're independent, but to a point. They're not disqualifying factors for you. You have special arrangements for all of those oxygens and.
Correct. So what we do is we provide the wheelchairs, and we provide travel wheelchairs, not the big heavy wheelchairs, as like I said, we're lifting them on and off the bus so many times. If the veteran is on oxygen, that has become more of an issue, mainly because of a decision that Honor Flight National made, and that we can't carry oxygen with us. That's a decision National made. So we're kind of having at odds with them on that. But if they have an oxygen concentrator, it's not a problem. We like to, in the past, carry extra oxygen in case of an emergency, but it doesn't stop us from taking them. We will make whatever accommodations we can for that veteran if they do have oxygen. We do have the ability to provide in-room concentrators if they need something at night. And like I said, we take 2 paramedics. The paramedics actually meet with each veteran 2 weeks prior to the flight, so that they can say, okay, what are your needs? Do we need extra hearing aid batteries, for example?
Yes.
Do we need, if someone is a diabetic, do we need to carry some extra insulin, for example? We carry a medical kit with us at all times.
Gosh.
Yeah.
There's a lot of forethought and planning. It's not just making the flight arrangements and hotel arrangements.
Right.
There's all these auxiliary factors that you've got to take into account and factor into.
It is. It takes us at least 8 months in advance prior to each flight, even to get permission to get into Arlington. If we do our job correctly, then we will have the opportunity to lay a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Well, that's 8 months out trying to plan that.
Wow.
We have to have permits. We have to have permits to be at the malls. If we make any noise, if we sing, if we have taps, anything like that, we have to have a separate permit. to be able to play taps at the memorials.
My goodness.
Yeah, so all of the little dots, which is something Honor Flight National helps us do, is keep the logistics part of it. Here, you need this, you need this, you need this, and then we do it. So to make it happen.
Wow. So you come back from a trip, but even before you completed that trip, you were already starting on the one later
Correct.
this year in October.
Correct. I think I got the permit for Arlington was February when I got the permit for October.
Wow.
And then once we get the date and approval to get into Arlington, then we have to reserve the buses. That's kind of our next step. If we don't get a bus through Honor Flight National, it's so much more expensive to go out on our own to try to get a bus, a chartered bus. And so National negotiates contracts with 3 or 4 different bus companies for us. And that helps. So it's just a lot of planning ahead of time.
Gosh, absolutely. Yeah, you really got to have all those I's dotted and T's crossed, don't you?
Absolutely.
Because then you've also got to make sure, a lot of flights book up early, and you then got nightmares booking all the flight reservations and hotels,
Right.
All kinds of happenings.
And it also, for us, for our planning, because we think it's important to give these veterans an opportunity to lay a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, our Arlington date really sets what we do next. So as soon as that date is secured, we go out to the bus. We reach out to the hotels that we work with and see if they have openings available. We unfortunately can't plan the flights out that far in advance. We start planning the trip for the flight-wise about 75, 80 days before the actual trip. We'll interview the veterans. How many veterans are going? 25. How many are taking a family member? Like grandsons, children go to be guardians. They're allowed to go. And then we know how many guardians we have to select from our wait list. We have a wait list of people from the community wanting to go. And so we're very, very blessed to have community support.
I was going to ask you about that. Do you actually have a wait list of veterans?
We do.
Okay.
Our current wait list, which changes all the time, is about 250 veterans.
Oh, good grief.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yes.
No.
But it sometimes we have to interview 30 or 40 to get 25.
Yes.
So,
due to certain circumstances?
Yes. Some of them unfortunately pass away. Some of them feel like they're no longer able to go, or some of them are like, oh, I have a cruise that weekend. Can I go next time? So it's all kinds of things go on.
Reasons that preclude it. Do you prioritize in any way, or do you just have a waiting list and you just go down that list, or do you prioritize like World War II veterans?
Yes.
Because there are fewer and fewer of them now.
So we sort our database by age. So the oldest veterans go first.
Okay.
If there's a veteran that may be terminally ill but is able to fly, then they will be moved up the list as well. So.
Okay, so yeah, well, that probably makes sense, and by default, I would think most of the oldest ones are World War II veterans. I would suspect.
Correct. On this past flight, we had a 99-year-old and a 98-year-old going, World War II veterans.
Good.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're going to take a little brief sponsorship break.
Okay.
Please stay with us, everyone, and we're going to take a little sponsorship break and meet Joshua Dowden from Lucia Capital Group. He handles 401ks for small businesses and individuals. Please listen to his message. We'll be right back.
Individual investors use IRAs and trust accounts. Employers use 401ks, 403bs, and corporate accounts. As a full-service financial institution, we at Lucia Capital Group help individuals and families as they work towards achieving their goals, whether it's managing your investments, implementing income and tax strategies, or managing risks towards enjoying a steady cash flow in retirement without the worry of the stock market volatility. Lucia Capital Group has a strategy for you. We also help employers manage employee benefits such as 401ks, 403bs, disability, life insurance, and so much more. Lucia Capital Group has served the Las Vegas area for more than 20 years. You should not let the volatility of the stock market determine your retirement future. I'm Joshua Dowdy. Whether you're an individual investor looking to manage your nest egg or an employer looking to offer new benefits or manage an existing plan, we can help. Call me today for your free consultation. 702-508-6421. That's 702-508-6421.
Country roads take me home to the place where I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama. Here comes a triple yodel. Adi-yodel-ay, oh, 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 ee.
Introducing Pacific Coast Capital, your partner in finance. We provide financing for your business. Speed, flexibility, and creativity are the foundation of our service. We'll help you navigate through change and opportunities. Our 90-plus years of experience ensures quick turnaround on loan decisions. Ride the wave to prosperity with us. Ready for new funding? Visit our website today at pacificcoastcap.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and thank you again, Firelight Barn Dinner Theatre, for sponsoring this program. For a fun night out or a special event, that's certainly the place to go. And I'd also like to thank Pacific Coast Capital for their support too. If you're a small business looking for a loan or you're having cash flow problems, please reach out to them. They'll be happy to help. And thank you, Belinda Morse, for joining us today from Honor Flight Southern Nevada. It's lovely having you on the program, and thank you for what you're doing for our veterans. So first of all, how does one apply to take one of these flights?
Well, the easiest way to apply is through our website because the application is right there. They can fill it out actually on the computer, or they can print and download and print it and mail it in or fax it in. So that's try to make it as easy as possible. When it's emailed in, that's so easy because then we can get it. I can email it to the veteran coordinator and file it away as easy as possible. So the electronic one online is the best.
Okay, and we're going to get your that information towards the end of this program. Now, do you get much in the way of corporate support for your trips, either from the airlines or the hotels or the restaurants that you frequent when you're in Washington, D.C.?
Well, we do get support from Southwest Airlines. So Southwest donates tickets to Honor Flight National. And then we will then petition Honor Flight National and say, hey, can we get some assistance with airline tickets with Southwest? We fly Southwest because it's the only direct flight from here to BWI. Even the flights to Washington are not always direct. So from here to Baltimore is the flight we take on Southwest. So we don't have to take the veterans on and off the flight. And so once a year, we will get 25 free plane tickets. And it's usually the fall flight, the October flight. And those have to be used for veterans. They don't cover anybody else, but they do cover the veterans. So they do support. Southwest does a great job at supporting at the national level and those hubs that need and fly Southwest Airlines. Locally, we get support from America First Credit Union. They've been a longtime supporter, an annual donor to us, and they also send 2 guardians on each flight. So they pay for those guardians to go and actually be involved with us. This past flight we had was sponsored by Fox 5. The local news station actually pulled together sponsors to go. And one of those sponsors again was America First Credit. That is something in my throat. And the other one is Toyota. And so they actually sponsored the entire flight.
Nice.
Yes, it was
That's
wonderful.
Nice to get that support from the community.
Yes. And they went on the flight. Fox 5 sent a reporter and 2 camera people. It was great.
Nice. And what about the restaurants? Do you get any support from the hotels that you make reservations with when you're staying in
So
Washington,
they have
D.C.
a,
and the restaurants you frequent? I'm assuming you go to the same places every time.
well, in the
Yeah.
past, we have typically had dinner at the hotels.
Okay.
And there's like 3 or 4 hotels that do work with honor flights and give us a nice price on the hotel rooms. What we have found since COVID, especially, is the price for the meals at the hotel are really high. And so for our first time, this time we got one of our meals. We went to Mission Barbecue on Friday night, which is a big supporter of veteran causes. And they give us a flat rate fee, and we just came in. They fed us all. It was great. It was a wonderful location. And so I think we will add that into our, because it saved us $2,000.
Wow. That's not chump
That's
change.
no, if you're paying anywhere from $55 to $60 a plate and you're feeding 60 people,
Yes.
and Mission Barbecue was giving it to us for $15 a plate. I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
that's a good money.
As I
That's a
said,
big
yeah,
check of
not-
change.
Yeah, not chump change.
Yeah.
Not chump change. So now you've just come back from a trip, and would you like to just specify how the trip works? You fly into Washington, D.C. on a Friday night, then Saturday, once they've had breakfast, what's the course sequence of events that you go
Right.
on?
So we take an early flight out of here on Friday morning and land in Baltimore about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's by the time we get to the hotel. So we have a quiet Friday, and then Saturday we leave the hotel at 8 a.m. If we have a World War II veteran on the flight, and we have, this was our 21st flight, and we have, then we will have our opening ceremony at the World War II Memorial at 9 o'clock. From there, we go to the Korean War Memorial. We then go to the Vietnam War Memorial. After that, this time we went to the Arlington and we laid a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Then we went to Iwo Jima, the Air Force Memorial.
Oh my.
We were able to fit in a trip, quick visit to the 9/11 Memorial at the Pentagon. Then we went to the Navy Memorial, and we end our trip at the National Archives and allow the veterans to go up. They get escorted up to see the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
Nice.
Yeah. And then
That's
Sunday
that's
we
a
just
lot
come
in
home.
one day.
It is. It is a
Yes.
long day. It is
Yes.
a really long day.
But you managed to pack a lot of worthwhile stuff in.
Yes.
And I'm sure the veterans are absolutely thrilled and overcome with emotion because a lot of them have probably, well, I'm assuming that none of them have been there. Is that why they?
Right. That's one of the things.
That's
They
the qualifying
cannot have been on
factor.
an honor flight before.
Mhm.
Some of them said, well, I've seen the traveling Vietnam Wall, so they think that counts. It doesn't count. If you haven't been to the wall or seen the Korean or Vietnam, because we do other things than just the Vietnam Wall for the Vietnam veterans or all the veterans, we tell them it's not the same. You haven't been on an honor flight. It's not the same as visiting the traveling wall, though it is very impactful. It's just not the same.
No. Boy, I just can't believe you managed to get all of that and into 24 hours, but less than 24 hours, really.
Yeah, that Saturday is very busy. And I'm very regimented, and I'm like, let's get this going. All right, everybody back on the bus. Let's go. We do a head
Yes.
count, and we're off.
But they're making memories of a lifetime.
Yes.
You know, they truly are. And I understand when they get back, there's quite a fanfare at Harry Reid International Airport.
Yes, we try to have their family members come in and meet them there. We do put together what we call the welcome home and invite, people from the community to come shake their hand and thank them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you normally get a pretty good turnout?
We do.
Yes.
We do. I will say that the team that we work with at Harry Reid Airport that helps us coordinate that, both the leaving and coming home, are exceptional. They do a wonderful job. Like I said, this is our 21st flight. We've learned along the way what works and what doesn't work, and fine tuning it every time to make it, go off without a hitch.
So you say 21 flights, that's 2 a year. So you've been doing this now for 10 or 11,
This is our 11th year.
11th year.
Mhm.
You've been doing it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, it's amazing.
No regrets, I'm sure.
No, no, I still can't believe it's been 11 years.
Yes.
I'm dumbfounded sometimes when
Yeah.
I think about it.
What would you say are the biggest challenges facing your organization? And are there any changes that you still want to make or make happen?
I think our biggest challenge is there are so many worthwhile charities and nonprofits here in town.
Yes.
Many of them are doing what I call, and I think you mentioned it during your introduction, they're doing the trench work.
Yes.
They are really providing financial support, emotional support, housing, PTSD support for veterans. So there are a lot of veterans charities and other charities in Las Vegas. So we're just another charity with our hand out.
Mhm.
And what I try to tell people is we're a little different in that we are here to make them feel and understand that their service mattered.
Yes.
That we as a nation haven't forgotten them. That's our mission.
Mhm.
So it's very different from some of the charities that are there to make sure that they're okay in all other aspects of their life. We're here to make sure they're acknowledged for the sacrifices they've made.
Yes, and it's not just the veterans, the sacrifices their families made as well.
Correct.
Which
Correct.
is pretty huge and pretty significant. How many volunteers do you actually have at this time, and are you still looking for volunteers?
So the way our organization is structured is we have a board of directors. There are 11 board members. And then we have an operations team, which also consists of about 11 people altogether. And so that's kind of a set volunteer core. Then other volunteers that are on our volunteer list are people who have time to come out and help at the Welcome Home. They come out and help at our fundraisers. We have one lady and her thing is to make the photo album. That's what she does is after each flight, the veterans will get a photo album and that's how much she gives her time to making sure. And it's a spectacular, well done photo album. And so volunteers just come and go. The operation teams, we don't really replace people on the operation teams unless like they move away or their life gets too busy. Some of them have smaller kids and they're ready to be really involved in that. So it's just where they are in their lives. But the operation teams and the board members, we only replace people on that if someone stops going or can no longer participate. So it's the other volunteers are there for information events, the Spotlight Spectacular, they man booths for us. We get an incredible amount of support in the mail call, like the letter writing, and just from not just in Las Vegas, but all over the U.S. we have people participate.
Sure. And you mentioned earlier that each of these veterans on these flights, they have a guidance. So you have a team of guardians as well, and they're all volunteers as well.
Correct. And these volunteers that go as guardians, that is their role. They may help in other parts of the organization, like some of them are team members, but they're on the wait list because that's what they want to do. They want to go as guardians, and they have to pay their own way. We cover all the expense for the veteran, and we cover the expense for the paramedics to go, and all of the hotel, everything. But the guardians have to cover their expense. And it's about $1,000. It cost them $1,000 to come.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So one person said, I don't know if I've ever paid to volunteer before. And I'm like, I know.
Well, it's very rewarding, I'm sure. They might cough out, but the emotional benefits and the rewards they get from the pleasure they're giving for the veterans. And it's not much to sacrifice when you think what some of these veterans have sacrificed.
Absolutely.
Either. So you have some fundraisers, and you've got one coming up. I think I saw a wine tasting you've got coming up later this year. Would you like to tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, it's one of our bigger fundraisers. We do a wine tasting. We have a master sommelier come in, and I always say that incorrectly. He comes in, he picks out some great wines, and we have a little bit of entertainment. That's on September 26th, I believe. It's a Thursday evening. That's where we have a silent auction. We invite veterans from this. For example, for this one, we are honoring the Korean Wars veterans. So the Forgotten War, as you had mentioned as well. So we will be inviting Korean War veterans, 5 Korean War veterans, to participate and meet the people that are coming in to support us. We sell about 55 to 60 tickets. It's not a big event, but it works for us. So,
yes. And you have another fundraiser for later this year that you're still in the planning
We're
stages?
still in the planning stages for. We have started back up last year doing our pancake breakfast. So we usually do 2 a year, one before the spring flight and then one after the October flight. But I think we're going to do something a little bit different this year after the flight. And I just, like I said, just recently was approached to hold a different type of event with them. So that's kind of just starting. So we're not going to do the pancake breakfast. We're going to do something similar, but different.
Okay,
So
there you go.
I can't say anything about it because I don't have a date. I don't have
That's quite all right.
details
That's quite
yet.
all right.
Mhm.
But you've got the date on the wine tasting. So for all you wine lovers out there,
Oh, it's so good.
please give us your contact information where people can go find out information about On a Flight of Southern Nevada and your upcoming wine tasting event.
Great. If you will please go to honorflightsouthernnevada.org, you'll be able to see the applications for the veterans, applications for the guardians, and also for volunteers and our upcoming events.
Okay. And your phone number?
702-749-5912.
Okay. And if people from out of state are tuning in or outside of Southern Nevada, is there some national website that they can go to look and see if there's a chapter of Honor Flight in their area?
Yes, honorflight.org.
Okay.
Honorflight.org is the national organization's website. And on there, you'll see a list of every Honor Flight nationwide with their contact
Great.
information.
Perfect. So anybody who's tuning in can listen.
Yes.
I'd love to thank you, Belinda, for taking time out. I know it's been a hectic schedule for you, just coming back from a trip to Washington, D.C. You're probably exhausted. Thank you so much for taking time out and being with us today.
Well, I appreciate you having us and giving us an opportunity to talk about the program.
It's a pleasure, and it's a nice way of honoring the veterans, especially with Memorial Day coming up.
Yes, absolutely.
And so to all you viewers out there, if you know of anybody who could benefit from On a Flight of Southern Nevada, or you would like to volunteer or help donate to their cause, please share this interview with your friends and those who you think might be able to benefit. And so thank you again, Belinda, for coming along and educating us on a Flight Southern Nevada. I'd like to thank our show's producer, John Stiles, and owner of WWDBTV, for allowing me to host this program. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Lucia Capital Group, the Firelight Barn Dinner Theatre, Pacific Coast Capital, and our final sponsor, RJ Champion, whose message you'll see at the end of this program. And finally, thank you for tuning in. I hope you'll join us again next week. If you have any comments or questions, please reach out to me, Stephen at thegiftofgiving.vegas. In the meantime, please stay safe, be kind to one another, and have a great week. Bye for now.
Mr. RJ Champion is proud to sponsor WWDB-TV's series, The Gift of Giving, and wishes the program much success. Congratulations and gratitude to the featured guests and the organizations they represent. Our community is well served by your tireless efforts to make Nevada a better state for all its residents.